Welcome to Behind the Bloom podcast. I'm Jay Schwanke, the flower expert, fourth-generation florist, and your guide to living a life in bloom. You might know me from the PBS show Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, or from my workshops, books, or appearances. But here, on this podcast, we're getting even more personal.
And I'm RJ Pohl, producer and co-host of the Behind the Bloom podcast. I've been a fan of Jay's for years, and I'm so thrilled to be joining him on this journey to dive deeper into Jay's life in bloom.
And that's what this podcast is all about, digging deeper into life in bloom. Here, I'll be sharing not just tips and techniques for arranging flowers, but the stories behind the episodes of Life in Bloom, and stories from my flower life. Things I've never really had the chance to share on television. We'll talk about the episodes and how they came to be, what inspired them, the behind-the-scenes fun, and even a few mishaps that we somehow managed to make look graceful on camera. There's a philosophy behind Life in Bloom, and it's not just about flower design. It's about joy, health and wellness, empowerment and creativity, and yes, finding a connection to nature and to each other every day with flowers. My hope is that this podcast becomes a space where we can slow down together, where you can listen while arranging flowers, or maybe while you're out for a walk, or just taking a break with a cup of tea. I want it to feel like a friendly visit with a special friend, where we both leave feeling a little lighter, a little more inspired, and maybe with a new idea to try. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad you're here with us, Behind the Bloom. This week on Behind the Bloom podcast, we're revisiting Life in Bloom episode 102, Protea Long-Term Beauty. And I have to say, it's still one of my favorites. This episode is all about one of the most fascinating flowers on the planet, the Protea. I'll be sharing what this flower means to me and why it's truly unlike any other. Prehistoric, unique, and dating back 300 million years, Protea are living history in bloom. Nature never ceases to amaze me. We'll go behind the scenes of my visit to Resendiz Brothers Protea Farm in Fallbrook, California. I'll share what it was like to film on location there, the excitement of seeing the fields in bloom, and how I first connected with Mel Resendiz and his extraordinary farm. It was a shoot full of inspiration. I also teamed up with my friend and artist, Jennifer Ackerman Heywood, for some Protea block printing. And yes, I had a little mishap with the printing press. We had a lot of laughs along the way. And of course, there's a flower crown segment. Jennifer and I both got crowned, and let's just say things got a little playful. The high five at the end is still one of my favorite moments. We'll wrap it all up by talking about why Protea are such a fan favorite. They're long-lasting, versatile, and truly extraordinary. So let's get started. Join me as we step back into Life in Bloom, Season 1, Episode 102, Protea Long-Term Beauty. Let's go Behind the Bloom.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. Welcome, Jay. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too, RJ. Thank you. Thank you.
So we're excited for companion episode number 2. So this is the second episode that you had done on your first season.
Correct. Protea, lasting beauty.
Oh,
This is full of so much great stuff. I mean, this was like a life-changing experience. This one was really good. And mostly because of Mel Resendiz. So Mel Resendiz also happens to be one of my favorite flower people who happens to be in my book, Fun with Flowers, as well.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah.
I love you being on location too was so much fun. Like I think the first episode you were kind of mostly all in your home, I believe.
We were in our house. It's true. Yeah, this one. So then let's go out on the road. Let's go to Southern California. Let's go to Fallbrook. So yeah.
And you also opened it up with the quote, the Henry David Thoreau quote, which I loved as well. So it was one of the most attractive things about flowers is their beautiful reserve. So I thought that was a really cool way to open it up and was curious just kind of what that means to you.
You know, I think it's every once in a while I have to remind myself to just stop and look at the flower. Because there's so much. And with like a pincushion Protea, it pops open. And we in season 7, we go to a Protea farm in Hawaii, which is a special research farm as well as a commercial flower farm as well. And the owner cut the pincushion Protea in 5 different stages for us and laid it out on the table as it opens up. And you don't get to see that, you know. And if you go outside, if you have flowers in your garden, you go out and take a look at them every day, and they're in a bud, and then they're a little further open and a little further open, and it's very quiet and it's very peaceful. It's a spectacular transformation. So it is just kind of, they have a quiet reserve about being ultra special in their own unique way, every single one of them. So, yeah, it's fun.
I love that the protea is such an exciting flower for you to do. I can see why you picked it for your second episode.
Right. And I think part of it was extremely popular, but that popularity hasn't waned at all. I mean, people still love them. Long lasting. It's an expensive flower, but I think that's good that it's long lasting and also can be dried. So I think that also is a bonus plus for being a little bit more expensive. But it's just so unusual, and people like unusual things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're prehistoric, or they look prehistoric.
Yeah, they are both. It is
Both.
all of the above. Yeah, all of the above. And I think, I think now there's such a fascination with dinosaurs. And knowing that there were protea of some sort growing next to those dinosaurs, they probably were eating them, and the birds were pollinating them. Or maybe little dinosaurs were pollinating them. I like the premise that maybe dinosaurs had feathers.
Yes.
I like thinking about them as like a big chicken. That would be great. That'd be awesome.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah. So I'm like, so I think that they've been around for such a long time, and we have obviously had our hand in making different types of varieties of them, and having, breeding them and crossing them. That's a big thing that Mel does at his farm, makes his own varieties. But I think that, the serrated edges of the leaves are, and like on a Banksia protea, they look like they've been cut with a pinking shears, but they're sharp. So it's protection for the plant too. Probably against dinosaurs eating them, So I mean, that could be something that could be, that could very well be. So they've been around. 300 million years is what they say.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so how did you get hooked up with Mel then?
So everybody told me I needed to go to Mel's farm. We had met Mel. He is so funny, and has a very dry sense of humor. And we have a rule in our filming, with our film crew. If Mel is with us, just keep rolling. Don't turn the camera off, because he's gonna say something that somebody wants, to hear. And it's just, he's so funny. He is so kind. He's so wonderful. He's a great man, and his dedication to Protea is really phenomenal as well. So when we called, they said, you need to go see him. You need to go see him in Fallbrook. It's an incredible property. You're really going to be blown away. And we are used to seeing flat flower farms. That's, it's the way to do it, because you want water, you want irrigation, you want to do all that stuff. You want to be able to harvest. Not this farm. It is for mountain goats. And Mel even says, I'm cross with goat. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because this hilly, mountainous area, he was an immigrant from Mexico, and he came to the U.S. He bought this property. He became a citizen, and then he started planting these mountainous sides. And he has that particular geographic location in San Diego County is replicates where protea grow in the wild in Australia, in South Africa, and it's a perfect place to grow it. In fact, they held the International Protea Conference of the World in Fallbrook this year, and
Oh, wow.
we're like on Mel's property.
Oh,
And
cool.
talking to Mel, and Diana is his right hand lady there at the farm. He lives on the farm. There is a house that they have for guests, so you can he's always threatened to let us come stay there. We've never ever taken him up on it, but we should. I mean, we've been in that house for the cocktail party that's at the very end is at that house, and Mel fixed carne asada for us, and it was delicious. But you're right on the flower farm. But there's like mountain lions on the flower farm, and there's coyotes on the flower farm, and there's rattlesnakes on the flower farm, and it's a wild place.
Is it hard to get around at all?
Yes. So Mel and on his little bobcat carved all of the roads on this property. there are switchback roads where Mel put a boulder, so when you're in his truck with him driving down, he backs up into the boulder and then he knows he can go forward. So
Oh,
you
cool.
don't go off the cliff and down and I'm terrified of heights. I am terrified of heights. And in the outtakes for the show, I was sitting in the middle in the back and everybody else was on the outside, and he's like, "Oh, Jay, just look at the flowers. Don't look at the road." And I'm just like, yeah, because it was straight down and the roads were just wide enough for the truck.
Oh.
So it's like, and I've a couple times in my life, I've been with people on roads like that. Just recently, a really good friend, Frank Biddle, we were at his farm. We filmed there last year for season 7, and it's a visit to FBI flowers. And Frank just recently passed away from cancer that he had for 6 years. And he said, "Do you want to go for a ride in the pickup?" And I was like, "Yes," without even thinking. And I got out of the pickup truck afterwards to Kelly and I said, "Please stop me from doing that in the future." But then when Frank passed away, I was like, "No, I'm really glad." I was scared to death. That was my last ride on this world. But I was so glad I was with Frank. I was just,
Oh.
so I guess that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. That's an experience. I will have that memory for the rest of my life. And sitting next to Frank and having him show me his farm in his
Oh.
pickup truck was great. So
Oh.
yeah. I just need to toughen up.
Just look at the flowers.
Right. Look at the flowers. Don't look at the road. Exactly. Yeah. It's a beautiful farm though. It is. And it is interesting. So actually we lifted that production from our California Grown Experience, which we had done. The entire California Grown Experience is on our website. When we were searching for America's last carnation flower farm, we did a show about America's flowers and the flowers that are grown here in America, close proximity to market. And Mel was one of the first people who signed up. And then we went back a second time. Being able to be on a flower farm, I'd always heard about them since I was little. I'd never been on a Protea farm before I went to that one. It was amazing. The hummingbirds, you would have loved it. The hummingbirds,
I bet
all
there's a
kinds of
ton.
hummingbirds, all kinds of birds, because they're there making believe that those Protea are other birds. That's
Oh,
how they
yeah.
get pollinated. So, I mean, a Protea looks like a back end of a bird for a reason, because it's dependent on the birds. In its native lands in Australia and in South Africa, there are not bees, and so they depend on the birds for pollination.
Oh,
So
and where you and I live, Jay, there's only one species of hummingbird. But in California, there's like so many. So it's like, I'm
they all
sure.
look
Yeah.
different. Yeah, they
Yeah.
all look
Yeah.
different, and it was just like, wow. And kangaroo paw that was 6 foot tall. I mean, taller than I am. And it was just, and walking around. And then so when I was there, Mel said, "Hey, you want to make an arrangement?" And I was like, "Sure." And that's the hand-tied bouquet that I make in that show. He said, "Go pick what you want." And I was like, I get to walk around and just pick flowers off these bushes and make a flower arrangement. So that was the first time the guys decided we were going to film on top of the mountain and have me make the arrangement there. My crew decided that we were going to do that. We were getting all ready and rushing because there was a rainstorm coming in, and they were like, "We got to hurry and do this so we can get down the mountain, because if we're not there, then the mountain roads kind of turn to mud and it's really hard to get down." And everybody's running around, and Kelly came over. I was just rushing really hard, and he stopped me and he said, "Just turn around and look where you are."
Oh,
And he said, "Nobody gets to design here."
yeah.
And I was like, it was so right. I mean, it's just, I have been able to arrange flowers in so many amazing locations because my crew and I had the guts to ask if we could do it. That was one of them. And we made that arrangement, and then we took it down, and then the storm moved in and we got off the top of the mountain, and then we put it on the table for drinking wine and eating carne asada with Mel, which is fun. But, just the ability to stand on top of a mountain and make an arrangement with flowers that were grown on that mountain. I wish that for anybody who wants to do so. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. So, yeah.
I love that the two of you had that moment too, to like take it all in. I mean, especially your first season, like you must have been
Right.
like, wow, this is really a treat. This is like what I've been hoping for to get to that point.
I think honestly, I'm driven because I deal with a perishable product. So going fast is natural for me, and I missed a lot. Used to. And that was at that time. And I think having a TV show and being able to take a breath every time we do it somewhere special now, I stop and I turn around and I look and I take a breath. And that's why we have a still photographer with us too, because I want to keep that memory, because I want to remember. I don't want to go so fast that I forget. And I know that like Aerosmith said, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And that's true, because it's all those little moments that get linked up with each other that get us to that spot. And sometimes you get to the spot and you're like, I don't remember how I got here. I missed all those things. And I want to make sure that we remember that. And so it's like when a guest comes on the show or something, I want to know a little bit more about them. I want to make sure it's a wonderful experience for them, but I want to remember that moment with them. And like selfies, there are so many selfies on my camera with people or friends, because it's like, okay, selfie, because I want to remember that moment. And that this was the initiation of teaching me to do that. And I think that, yes, now I feel that way. I did not feel that way, and I'm really thankful that I got the wake-up call. So, yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. And you keep in touch with Mel then too, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because he's a very quiet guy. And, we have a meeting in California next week, and I hope he's going to be there. I never know, but, there were dogs. There were his dogs too were on the farm, and we got attached. And it was really funny. We got attached to this one that's in the show, and I called him and I was like, "Hey, we're just checking in on the dog," and he's like, "Oh, mountain lion got him."
No.
And I'm like, "Oh." Again, that's the reason that you make time. We adore it when there's a dog.
Oh.
We are always so happy when there's a dog. And it's just, I think because we're away from our dogs, but the whole crew and our photographer, Raul, also does a thing with our local Humane Society where he goes in and takes pictures of the dogs that are unadoptable to put these personal pictures up online that helps them get adopted. And so that's also like a personal thing. And so I think that we always want to make sure that if there's dogs, cats, animals of any kind, we're always animals. All right, yes. So yeah, I'm the one who will drag animals. People say don't do children or animals. I will always do children and animals. Sorry, that's always gonna happen.
I can't wait to talk about your dogs at some point, Jay.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we have episodes coming up about them, and I can share a lot of stuff. So yeah, there's good stuff. Yeah. Support the joy of flowers. The Life in Bloom Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to flower education and inspiring a love of flowers in everyone. The foundation helps fund the production of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom on public television, making it possible for viewers across the country to enjoy the beauty and benefits of flowers. The foundation also provides free flower education to high schools, colleges, and floriculture programs through ubloom.com, helping students and future florists bloom in their own careers. Your donation in any amount makes a difference. Plus, all contributions are 100% tax deductible. If you'd like to help us continue sharing the power of flowers, visit the lifeinbloomfoundation.org to donate today. Thank you for your support.
So on this episode too, you did the Crafts in Bloom where you had Jennifer Ackerman Heywood.
Yes. Oh
that
my
was
God.
a lot of fun.
So she's one of the funniest human beings I've ever met. I love her. She has a magazine called Craft Sanity. She's a crafter. She is an advocate. She is a activist. She has sweet kids, good daughters who are fully grown now, I'm sure. And her and I met when we were doing live television here for ABC. We would go in and there was a green room and she would do a craft segment, I would do a flower segment, and we would just giggle and laugh in the back room all the time about the craft she was going to do or what we were going to do. And I said, would you come be on the show? And she was like, sure. She doesn't really do that anymore. Her life is a little bit different now. And she really focuses on her magazine, and she really focuses on craft, and she really focuses on being an activist when she was there. But when we're together, we just laugh. I mean, like I saw her, we went, I can't remember. We went to see something at the Broadway theater here in town, and we ran into each other and we saw each other for 5 minutes. We giggled for 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes after we were laughing. I was just like, it's so good to see her. She always really, 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 really does my heart good. And I just kind of threw out to her, we're gonna have a show about Protea and I need to do a craft. She's like, let's do block printing. It's like, perfect. And so she came up with that whole thing and brought that crazy printing machine in. We were just, and it was funny because it was like, you're new with it. And she's like, who lives where? I mean, who do I look at? What's going on over there? What is he doing over there? I can't get over there by you. And she was watching Kel and talking to Kel too. And, and it was really, really fun. And then I broke the machine. So she was like, now don't turn it past this point. And then I did. And then she's like, okay, now we got to do it all over again. And I'm like, oh, good. Great. Jay broke. And she's like, we didn't break it, but we do have to start all over again. And I was like, okay, we have to start all over again.
You were steering it like a boat.
It was. It's like a big boat. And it's so fascinating. And like the inking, those pieces, it was really funny because I wanted to have her print on, this is my memory of it, that I wanted her to print everything. I wanted her to print on a bag, print on a t-shirt. And she's like, I just print on little pieces of linen and then you can sew it on anything. And then you can move that print to something else when that thing, like if that bag deteriorates or that t-shirt falls apart or whatever. And I think that's such a brilliant idea. And it did not occur to me at that point in time that it was brilliant, but that is how brilliant she is. She does some really incredible block printing that is, very, very activist based and stuff. She's very cool. And she's a really, there are people you meet in your life that you're like, that's a heavy soul. There's a lot going on in there. That's Jennifer. And that's Mel too. Both of them. I mean, both of them, they were well meant to be in the show together because they're both great people. And I love the outtake at the end with her where she's like, high five. She goes, that wasn't in the script. And I was like, no, that's okay. And she's like, I had a flower crown on my head and I needed to high five somebody. That is very much her personality and very, very true to form. And that was still one where we both put on flower crowns. I think we both had flower crowns. Yeah. So, but I like that. And I was like, and I said, will you wear a flower crown? She's like, of course. And I said, it's going to have protea in it. Perfect. She was just like, yes, I'm bored. Let's go. Let's do that. So yeah.
I loved you both also leaned into kind of like imperfection is okay with like the block printing as well. It was like, that was such a good, like, I feel like metaphor for kind of like life and also kind of all of this. Like, it's more about the experience doing it and kind of getting the result and seeing how it looks rather than having this thing like look perfect, which I thought was kind of a cool thing.
That I just think that's part of crafting. I think that you're putting your soul out there, and I don't know, people tell me I'm an influencer. I don't know, but there's too much perfection. There's, and it was funny. I did a thing for Disney one time for influencers, and we were all in this room together, and I was teaching them how to make a flower crown. And then they were going to wear them out in the park, and they were all in there, and some of these influencers had like 7 people with them.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, oh my God. And they were taking pictures in the room and taking pictures of their flower crowns and everything. And I was just kind of looking at them. I thought, that's going to be interesting. Well, then when I looked at it later online, they'd eliminated everybody else in the room with their, with their Photoshop or whatever, and I was just kind of like, wow, this is all really kind of strange a little bit, that you get to make this thing perfect and it wasn't, and I just think that and when people always say to me, you make the arrangements look so easy. I have had tons of practice. There are happy mistakes every single time. There are things that I just work with and I pull stuff out and and we're kind of true to form on that is, we try and leave that in when I change the place of a flower or move something around or recut it a second time because I don't want people to think that it's instantaneous. It's something that you learn. Most of all, most important rule in everything is that you need to make yourself impressed with what you did. As long as you are happy, it does not matter what anyone thinks. And I have people sometimes who are like, give me a harsh critique. I'm not that guy. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give you a harsh critique. I'm going to ask you what you think of what you did. And if you tell me, I'm not really happy with it, I'm going to say, okay, why? Tell me why you're not happy with it, and let's change that. Because what's important to me isn't important. What's important to you is important. And that's what people need to remember. And Jennifer embodies that. Her magazine, Craft Sanity, is incredible because she's always trying something. And, she said, it took me a while to get around to having this be, the way I wanted it. But I tried it a bunch, and that's good. So, yeah.
Oh, she seemed like so much fun.
She is. She is a whole lot of fun. And I keep trying to get her back on the show. I want her back on the show again. I want to do more things with her because she makes my heart really happy when she's around. So, yeah, she's a good girl.
So you also had the Protea centerpiece that you made in this one that was so cool with the Protea in the cylinder vases.
Isn't
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
was
I love
okay?
that.
Lifted it off of an Instagram.
Oh, okay.
I saw it and I thought, this is really cool. Whoever thought of this is brilliant.
Yeah.
And that flowers float. So that's a thing. They float. And so stacking them in that thing and then putting that weighted candle on top kept everybody below the water. And it looked so great and it was really easy. I mean, and you could do it with roses, you could do it with hydrangeas, you could do it with zinnias, for heaven's sakes. You could do it with anything. I mean, you could stack stuff, and I think that's a great idea. And remember though, whenever you put flowers underwater, they're only going to last about 18 to 20 hours. When they're completely submerged, that part of the flower was never meant to be underwater. And they degrade very quickly because they're much more fragile than the stem. And so they degrade fast. And so that's just the important thing to remember. But yeah, it was a great, it really looked good. That's our dining room table too. That's the dining room
cool.
table in our right off our kitchen. So yeah, that's where it is.
And something about the fire and the water and the flowers. It's all just
Right.
like very,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
colors. It's like, oh, this is really cool.
Easy to do too. The other thing that's funny is there's a segment in this show that I think about all the time. So Mel sent me those Protea for my filming. And I said, will you label them so that I know what they're named? Because I don't know the names of those guys. And no one does, because many of them are Mel's named varieties. So there's this vase, and I'm making a vase of Protea. I think it's during the featured flower. They all have a white tag on the stem. And you can see them. And everybody's like, should we take those white tags off? And I was like, no, because if you take them off, I will not know the name. And someone will call and ask me what the name of that Protea is, and I won't know. So I left them on. And I just think that that's funny when we still to this day, when we watch that show, I'm just like, oh, there's the tags on those Protea because I didn't know what their names were. But yeah, all Mel brands, all Mel special Protea. So yeah, those are great. Yeah.
So Mel also does the wreaths as well, and it sounds like Proteas are great for drying. Like they dry.
Exactly.
They're like the gift that keeps on giving. They last forever, and then once they're done, you can dry them, and they keep turning into something else.
His, he commercially makes, Resendiz Brothers Farms commercially makes these Protea wreaths, and they're just stunning. And Mel was the one who made the first one, and then now his crew makes them. But they were actually on the cover of Southern Living, and that was something that like blew Mel's fame off the charts. And it was right at the height of the American Grown movement, and his and they couldn't keep up. They could not keep up with how many calls they had for those guys. And it would make a great flower crown too, wouldn't it? I think that's, I mean, just saying that, but it'd be heavy. But we have had many in our home because he used to send them to us on occasion, and they dry. The only thing about them is as they dry, you have to, they're all clipped in with a metal clip into the wreath. So as they dry, you have to tighten those clips up, or some of them will fall out. You can also, I think in a Christmas show on YouBloom, we did them dried and fresh, so we could show people how they dried.
Oh, cool.
So, and they were in a Christmas episode so that you could see what they would look like months later. And I think that that's really a cool thing, because that is the cool thing about Protea, is that they'll last forever, because especially the ones that look like birds. The ones that look like birds, those feather-like ones really dry. Pincushions, not so much. Banksia Protea or the mink varieties or the king varieties will continue to look exactly like that. That's exactly what they look like.
Cool. And I love the cocktail segment. You did the wine and cheese board with the charcuterie board. And Jay, I want to say I love your arranging the charcuterie board. You have like the same precision as when you're arranging flowers. And I love that so much. It was like watching you cut everything and put everything in place. I was like, oh,
this is where this goes.
Yeah.
I'm very much like, I am like
it.
that. In the kitchen when I cook, I'm not so much that way. But with the charcuterie board, it's like, okay, now the honey goes here and this goes here and that goes there. That it's a very interesting for the wine is called Protea, and that company creates wine bottles that can be cut off. So they're decorative on the outside and they don't have a label. So then you can cut them off. I am searching. I am searching for someone. I probably have over 150 wine bottles that are waiting to be cut off.
Okay.
Because I know I'm not that person. I'm not going to cut them off with like a wet saw, I understand. And I also need somebody who's going to smooth the edges so the edges are very clean and won't hurt you or anything like that. And I know that there's another tool that goes with that, but I haven't been able to find one. So if anybody knows who that is, who wants to cut off like 150 wine bottles for me to make vases, I am up for that. Let me know.
Yeah, Jay, you have a platform now where you can ask people for that. Somebody's going to listen and they're going to be like, I can do it.
And I will be like, awesome. I mean, I have such beautiful wine bottles that I've saved over the years. And it's funny because we have a warehouse area that we keep everything. And Kel's always like, can we get rid of some of this stuff? And I'm like, well, not the wine bottles because I'm going to find somebody who's going to cut them off. So I need to find somebody who's going to cut them off or I'm going to have to get rid of them. So that's for sure. Yeah. Do you know what a protea means? Do you know what the meaning of the protea flower is?
No, tell me.
Don't despair or you smell nice. What is that?
What?
I know. Smelling nice or don't despair is the meaning of the protea. I think that's very funny. So I made this product many years ago for the John Henry Company. It's called the Floral Fan Deck. It doesn't exist anymore, and people are all mad about that because it was a wonderful product and it was my baby and it was great, and they decided to discontinue it. But people loved it. But it was 8 decks of cards that had cards in every color. And it showed the flowers that were available in that cover. And on the backside, it told all about them.
Oh, cool.
And so that was, so then I had to find the meaning of all of those flowers. Wow. And so I still have a huge box that has all the books I use for references. Because different books had different things in it. And so it was like, we wanted to try and get the best, most positive ones on there. Like hydrangeas, we didn't put it in deceit. Okay. Because that's a bad thing. But we try to keep it positive. But yeah. And so that I was like, oh, I'm going to go look at that. And I looked at it this morning and I was like, what is it? Smelling nice and don't despair. Okay, awesome. Great. Perfect. So yeah. So if you give your girlfriend a flower, a protea, it could be like, you smell nice. Here you go. Yeah. Don't despair. You smell nice.
I'm going to do that now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
After she comes back from the gym.
Perfect.
Well, Jay, this has been so much fun. This has been
awesome.
A great episode. Anything else on the protea around this episode you want to talk about?
People love protea, and I think that's a really great thing. And I know that because Mel is all about American grown and things like that, I know that people can call his farm and request and see when he does tours. And he holds tours and dinners there sometime. And if you're in the Fallbrook area, call Resendiz Brothers and see if they're going to have one. They also used to have farm to vase dinners there, which was with the American Grow movement, and they would have it all decorated by somebody you could buy, and you could go with your friends and have dinner on the farm. That's a really cool thing to do. I mean, we're not as fortunate here in the Midwest. There's not as many flower farms, but like even little flower farms do that sometimes, is have a farm to table dinner there. So call. And see, or if you're going to be in the Fallbrook area, check and see. Maybe you could tour it. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what his policy is, and I'm just shooting that off the cuff. But Mel is wonderful, and so is his farm. And Diana's incredible. She's an incredible photographer. You can follow him on Instagram. I'm sure it's Resendiz Brothers Farm or something like that. It's full of her photography, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, it's a great place to visit. It's a great place to see. So,
cool.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us this week on Behind the Bloom podcast with Jay Schwanke and RJ Pohl. If you loved what you heard, be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And share it with a friend to help us spread the joy, one bloom at a time. Thank you for taking the time to slow down with us. And hopefully you left feeling a little lighter and inspired to try something new. Make sure to join us next week for a brand new episode. Thanks for being here with us, Behind the Bloom. Hey, just one more thing. If you love flowers, you've got to check out ubloom.com. It's the online home of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, where you can stream every episode for free. Plus, you'll find behind the bloom videos, my blog, show recipes, and so much more. There's also a massive video archive, over 1,800 how-to videos, flower farm documentaries, and even my very first series, JTV. All Life in Bloom episodes, exclusive web content, and farm documentaries are totally free. Just sign up with your email. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there's a paid subscription option that unlocks the full library of how-to videos. Everything from creating bridal bouquets to centerpieces, corsages, and more. Tons of content to explore. You're gonna love it.